Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating text, The Esoteric Science of Yoga by Daniel Underberger. And let me tell you, this is not your average guide to yoga poses. The author basically presents it as a unified field theory for yoga, a map to a hidden dimension of the practice that most of us never even hear about. So let me ask you something right off the bat. When you hear the word yoga, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most people, it's about physical flexibility, right? Bending into different shapes, maybe some breathing stuff to chill out. And that's all true. But what if that's just scratching the surface? What if that's just the lobby to a massive skyscraper? And this slide right here, it just lays it out perfectly. The book draws the super clear line between the exoteric, that's the outer form we all see, and the esoteric, which is the deep inner science. So the exoteric is the posture, the group class, it's the map. But the esoteric, well, that's the psychoenergetic shift happening inside, the inner alchemy. It's not the map anymore, it's the territory itself. And today, we're going to exploring in that territory. Okay, so to really get this science, we've got to start with our own inner geography. The author lays out this really foundational map of our own consciousness. First up, we have what's called the periphery. This is basically our default setting. It's the world of the chattering mind and the five senses, always pulling our attention outward. You know that feeling of your brain having 100 tabs open at once? That feeling of being pulled in a million directions? Yeah, that's the periphery. It's a place of constant noise and conflict. Sound familiar? And then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the core. The book describes this as the very axis of our being. It's a source of real peace, real stability, and authentic power. It's not some place you go to, it's a state you access, that deep, quiet center, the experience of the eternal now. So, our actual day-to-day life is what the text calls the great dialectic. And really, it's just a constant tug of war, isn't it? There's the outward pull of that chaotic periphery, and then there's the intentional inward path to the core. And the entire science of yoga? It's the technology, the actual how-to guide for consciously choosing and mastering that inward path. Okay, and this is where it gets super interesting. This inner map is actually governed by what the text calls three great rivers of energy. First, you have Pingala. That's your solar, go-go-go channel, linked to your sympathetic nervous system, action, ambition, sometimes even anger. Then there's Ida, the lunar channel. That's your parasympathetic system. Think passivity, rest, even sadness. The whole game is to get these two in perfect balance so that energy can flow right up the center, the Sushumna, which leads to this amazing state of clarity and flow. All right, so we have this map, but how does it actually feel in our day-to-day lives? How does it show up? Well, this is where the theory gets incredibly practical and, honestly, a little bit confronting. According to the source, when our life force gets blocked, it's gotta go somewhere. If it spills over into that fiery Pingala channel, we get the fight response. You know that feeling when you're just buzzing with restless energy? You're agitated, maybe a little critical, and you just have to do something, anything to let off steam? That's what this is. And then there's the flip side. If that same blocked energy spills into the cooler Ida channel, you get the flight response. Ever feel that cold, heavy blanket of I just can't, where you're tired, maybe a little down, and all you want to do is just check out from the world, scroll on your phone, or just sleep? That's your flight response in action. But when you get those two in balance, oh, that's when the magic happens. The energy stops spilling out sideways into chaos. Instead, it rises straight up that central channel, the Sushumna, and creates the flow state. Now, this is crucial. It's not just being relaxed, it's being calmly energized. You're powerful but peaceful. You're taking action that feels inspired and effortless. That's the alchemy. That's the goal. All right, get ready for this next part, because for me, this was the real aha moment of the whole thing. It's this massive, universal principle that connects the grandest cosmic scales directly to our own bodies. It's called the fractal principle. The basic idea is that the same fundamental pattern repeats itself on every single scale of reality. You've heard the phrase, as above, so below? That's this. It's like how the pattern of a river delta looks like the veins in a leaf. And why does this matter? Because it means if you can master the small, accessible version of the pattern, you can actually influence the big one. So, what is this universal pattern? The book describes the cosmic cycle in 4 phases. First, there's creation. Boom, something comes into being. Then comes preservation, the force that holds it all together and keeps it going. After that, dissolution. when things fall apart and return to their source. And finally, there's potential, that silent, empty space from which the next cycle is born. And now, here is the mind-blowing part. Look at this. That entire cosmic dance of creation, preservation, and dissolution, it's happening inside you right now with every single breath. The inhale, that's creation. Holding the breath when you're full, preservation. The exhale, that's dissolution. And that little pause at the very bottom when you're empty, that's pure, unmanifested potential. With every breath, you are rehearsing the entire life of the universe. Okay, so now that we have this incredible roadmap, and we know our breath is the remote control, what do we actually do with it? How do we apply this? Well, the text presents all the yogic practices as a kind of systematic technology. It's described as a grand funnel of sadhana or practice. Think of it like a giant funnel. At the top, the widest part, you have practices that meet us where we are, out in the world. Things like group chanting or rituals that engage our scattered senses. Then, as we move down the funnel, it gets more personal, more internal, like a private mantra practice to focus our awareness inward. And then you get to the very, very tip of the funnel. And what's there? Silence. That tiny conscious gap between your thoughts. That's a direct line to the core. So let's pull all these amazing threads together. The source is really careful to frame this entire system not as some mystical belief, but as a practical, verifiable science. So let's just recap the big ideas. 1, your consciousness has a map, a messy periphery, and a peaceful core. 2, your whole mood, your whole state of being comes down to which of those 3 energy rivers is flowing strongest. Are you in fight, flight, or flow? 3, the entire creative cycle of the universe is happening inside your lungs right now. And 4, all those yogic practices, they're not random. They are a deliberate technology designed to guide you from that outer chaos to your inner center. And this leads to the author's beautiful conclusion. He calls it the science of reconnection. It's not about becoming something new or different. It's about healing that split between our inner and outer worlds. It is, in the book's own words, the art and science of remembering who we truly are. Which leaves us with one last pretty profound thought to sit with. If all of this is true, if the master control panel for your inner state is mirrored in your own body, then what if your very next breath, the one you're about to take right now, taken with this awareness, could literally change everything?